I think at first I was thinking that I would like to ask you to do a little bit more data cleaning and to put actually the variable to the people, but I then maybe too challenging for you in a short time to clean further the data. So I was doing a little bit more and provide you even more detailed data cleaning with both variables you need for the exercise, so that it gives you a little bit help for the exercise. And that's we're doing actually almost done. And in this afternoon, when we work with the CES data, we work together and we do this data cleaning for the data set. Yeah, almost done. Now we continue with this thing. Yeah, so continue with this paper. I present this morning about the impacts of inflation on the formation of inflation expectations and trade in the central banks. And we start with the research question and motivation, why it's important to answer this question. And then we go to details on what effect of the research question we want to answer. And then briefly about two steps on the match control price to answer the question, and then what are the contributions in the research with three main points of the contribution. And now we'll talk about the survey. And example, we conduct the online survey with BNB research institute. And in the first way, we conduct the March 2022 with 4,000 households, and for October with 200%. We able to collect nearly 3,000 respondents who participate in the first way. Yeah. So now the survey is conducted as follows. In the first step, after some questions about demographic and only demographic question, we randomly split the sample in two groups. 50% of respondents in the literacy treatment receive 1 minute reading text with general and non-numerical information about inflation and monetary policy. And in this step, we talk about the definition and the national inflation, the economic growth of high inflation and economic benefits of low and stable inflation. And then we have a short introduction about the system, including both investment and ECB and private bonds and price stability and the monetary policy instruments. And the control group receive no further information. So this is the information we provide to the children group, some text about inflation and monetary policy, and we call that with the literacy treatment. We want to teach someone a little bit knowledge, basic knowledge about inflation and monetary policy. And now I will show you the working. Yeah, it in three paragraphs. So the first paragraph here is about the definition of inflation, right? How to calculate inflation. So inflation is the percentage increase in the central price level. So here we talk about both inflation and price level, but with the percentage increase in central price level. It means that 1 euro by less than equal and 12 months ago. And by contrast, the fall in general price is called inflation. And inflation is usually measured using the index of consumer price and comparing price to the equal price 12 months ago. And the index of consumer price measures price of the basket of utility food and services such as rent, energy, food, transport, health, education, and durable goods like furniture, computers, and household articles. Right, so here's the definition about what is inflation and how we measure it. And we talk both about inflation and deflation. And why we do that? Because we don't want just to emphasize about inflation, but we talk about the neutral language that we talk about both inflation and deflation. So, yeah. we don't want to trigger people just think about inflation, but just a textbook definition about inflation. So that's why we talk both about inflation and deflation. Okay? To give the neutral language, because we don't want to have some emotional impacts and on this aspect. And in the second paragraph, we talk about the economic cost of inflation. We start with high inflation and economic cost. For instance, reducing the purchasing power of those with fixed income or saving. However, people who pay, for instance, households with a mortgage, also benefit from inflation. Inflation reduces the value of their debt. And low and stable inflation is regarded as optimal for the economic development. See low inflation increase investment by keeping down the economic cost of inflation. And deflation is incidental for economic development because it provides policy the incentive to not consume or invest later, rather wait to see if price will fall further. This can cause a recession with rising unemployment. So here again, we talk both about the economic cost of high inflation, but also the economic cost of deflation. And the optimal for the economy is where inflation is low and stable. Again, we talk about all the scenario, right? High inflation cost, low inflation, and the benefit of low and stable inflation. So we don't want to emphasize any direction of the effect. And the last paragraph, we introduce about the Euro system. Because the survey here we conducted in Germany, and we asked just about the central bank, the Bundesbank, and the ECB. So that's why we talk about the Bundesbank. We mentioned the role of the Bundesbank in the Euro system. So we talk about Germany is part of the Euro area. So its monetary policy is decided by the Euro system, consisting of the ECB and the national central banks like the Bundesbank. And the Euro system is responsible for keeping price stable throughout the Euro area over the medium term. This means that the average inflation over various of 1 to 3 years would be low and stable. And the Euro system can achieve this by setting interest rates and or buying securities from banks. Okay? So it's a further short introduction about the Euro system, the ECB, Bundesbank, and the Central Bank of Germany. And the purpose or the aim or the objective of the ECB is to keep price stability and over medium term, and monetary policy instruments here is by setting interest rates or buying securities from banks. So we just introduce a short introduction about the system and the investment without emphasizing anything about whether the ECB or Bundesbank they success or they fail in terms of keeping price stability, right? So it was kind of textbook introduction about the ECB and the Bundesbank without talking about whether they are good or bad, or they have high reputation or low reputation, anything. So we want to write some simple and neutral language about the ECB and the Bundesbank. And the aim here, we want to see whether some kind of information here, the definition of inflation, some knowledge about the impacts of inflation on the economy, and the role of the central banks on price stability and how the central bank can achieve it. Just some basic knowledge about monetary policy and inflation, right? And we call this kind of knowledge is inflation literacy. So at the very beginning of our project, when we wanted to conduct a field experiment in some rural area, we want to organize some workshop with more detailed knowledge about this topic. But in terms of workshop, we can practice a lot about monetary policy and financial issues. But for online survey, it's hard to do so. So that's why we try to compress this kind of knowledge to become the most basic term and knowledge about inflation and monetary policy, and to the population to see whether some kind of simple, neutral, non-limited text can have impact on how people form inflation expectation and trade with central bank, and how they can integrate this information with further information from the central bank by target of 2% or some forecast from the central bank. Okay, so it is some basic knowledge. And the aim, and to see that in this place, we will have a non-nuclear information, right? So we have a non-nuclear information. So that's why we can mitigate no problem of anchoring effect, right? So we don't have this one. We don't have an anchoring effect because we do not mention any numbers, whether the central bank rate or the current interest rate. We do not discuss anything whether the current interest rate is low or high or stable or what. We just talk about the definition of inflation, how to measure inflation, and the impact of inflation on the economy, both inflation and deflation. So there is no anchoring effect, and also have no demand effect at all, right? Because there's some specific knowledge of them and of the demand effect. Okay, and the neutral average here, yeah, exactly, use the current rule to do the demand effect. Okay, and then control group, we still know zero information. So now we can, after this, after providing this information, now we ask some questions about inflation literacy, and this also based on the literature. So get some definition of inflation and inflation is real consumption. So we have 5 questions in total to measure the people knowledge about inflation. One is the definition of inflation and real consumption, and what are the objectives of monetary policy instruments, and impact of macroeconomic policy on inflation. So we have 5 questions. So 5 multiple choice questions to measure how people understanding about inflation and monetary policy. Okay, you see the treatment effect on the outcome variable with inflation literacy. And we also have some questions to measure financial literacy, and this is based on also literature by Rusali and Mitchells. They have big 3 questions on financial literacy to measure people understanding the impact of inflation and real consumption, because they're compounding and risk diversification. It's better to diversify your portfolio amount. And after that, we have one question about price prediction on expected inflation and ECB target. And the question we ask, next 12 months, I expect the rate of inflation to be 20%. Okay, so there's a point forecast question. And what we will ask about the annual inflation target is that the ECB tries to achieve on average on the medium term, so 1 to 2 years. So to see how many people they know the target of the ECB. So in the second step, now we randomly split the sample into 5 groups, and all the information we provide us here is that contains some quantitative information on inflation and monetary policy. First treatment, we provide the target of the ECB and for interest target of 2%, and the second group is the ECB target plus, because the ECB at the time they not only aim for inflation target 2%, but the ECB at that time they also have commitment to take into account the effect of price change. So this is the new monetary policy strategy of the ECB since 2021. So the ECB they reform the monetary policy strategy, and they include their commitment talk about target of the central bank at 2%. So here we have number 2% inflation target. And treatment number 2 here is similar to treatment number 1 until this point, but we add one more sentences about the commitment of the ECB to take into account the effect of climate change on the stability of the financial system. Okay. That is the commitment of the ECB over time. And treatment number 3, we provide the interest rate in Germany in January 2022. So it was before the time we conducted the survey at the 4.9%. And treatment number 4, we provide not only the current inflation rate, but also the forecast of the Bundesbank about the future inflation in 2021. The projection in 2021 about inflation rate in Germany in 2022 until 2024. And the direction is reduced from 4.9% to 2.2% is 2024. So inflation rate will go down. And next time we conduct a survey, the current inflation rate at 4.9%, so it's much higher than the target of 2%, right? And with this time, the inflation will start going up in Germany and also in the Eurozone. And it's the first time in very long time history in Germany that inflation is coming back and above the target of the central bank significantly. So nearly 5% as that we conduct the survey. Yeah. So here we have 4 treatment group and the control group. Here again no further information. So here is a few control group without any further information. Okay. Yes. And some of the treatment group in the second step here, half of those who receive the ECB target here, they also receive the general knowledge about monetary policy and inflation from the first step. Yeah, so in the first step here, they receive deep information about the definition of monetary policy and the impact of inflation on the economy. And in the second step here, for example, in treatment number 1, for half of the treatment number 1 here, they receive the basic knowledge about inflation and monetary policy, and for half of each they do not receive any general information about monetary policy and inflation. Okay, so that's why we can see how people can use the basic knowledge of inflation and monetary policy to cooperate, to integrate with further information we provide here on the information expectation. Okay, so it's how we see the role of knowledge of the text we provide. The text we provide on inflation and monetary policy with further information. But further information here is very much this step. We separate people in 15 group and treatment 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the control group without any further information. But before we provide each one in this group, we first divide 4,000 in 2 groups. So here we have 2 groups. control group here, we go in this direction, and test here we also go in this direction. Right? So in this typically you can see the impacts of text here, how people use this type to incorporate with further information we provide compared with those who do not receive the information control group with further information. Yeah. And the posterior belief about inflation expectation, here we do the new job test questionnaires to measure the density, inflation expectation, and here we have the question similar to the new job test, but we use the format from the Google site, and that is on this. So what if you think the percent chance that all those instruments, the rate of inflation will be in Hamilton in minus 12% or less than come to the as y at 12% or more. Okay? So if the density forecast here as a postal lead, and this before we go by the further information here, we have a quite forecast here. Yep. So we have quite forecast. At this point, before we provide further information. Okay? And then after this we have a density forecast. But just before we look with this one, the results of this question is it seems to be very similar to the neutral test, but actually it's the same with the Wittgenstein. And one thing that they changed from the Wittgenstein to the neutral test is that in the Wittgenstein they put the low inflation first, so they put the negative first in the order. So negative first and then positive later. But in the neutral test they put the 12% or more first, and then they put the low inflation later below, right? So we also have some. It has some impact on how people answer the question, right? Because if we put the category low first, it means that when people answer the question, more people will put the answer on the first category. And so on average, it will be, for average impression will be lower if we change the order, that we put the positive impression first, and then we put the low impression below. Those are about technical issues. We apply this question to also respond to more problems. So that this one thing to keep in mind, the how to organize the order of the answers. And the last question we have chosen ECD and Wittgenstein and rating scale from 0 to 10. So how much do you choose the ECD, or how much do you choose the Wittgenstein, and answer in range from 0 to 10. Yeah. And here's some summary statistics about inflation literacy and inflation expectation control group who do not receive any information. So we have 5 questions on inflation literacy, and the median is 2. It means that less than 50% of the samples they are able to answer correctly also by question. And the median is 2.3, the mean is 2.3, and for financial literacy it's 1.9, and the median is 2. So we can say that for inflation literacy, the general knowledge of people about inflation and monetary policy in Germany is not only in Germany, but also in many other countries is relatively low, because people don't know much about inflation and also the impact of inflation on the economy and how monetary policy works. And during this time, we also mentioning that PE here, the perception. So perception, and here is expectation 1 year ahead, expectation 3 years ahead, and here is ECB and traffic. So we can see that the perception here is 4.9%, and the actual inflation rate at the time also 4.9. So we can say that the people knowledge at the time about inflation is relatively high, because at this time when inflation is going up in Germany and it's much higher than in the history of German inflation over the past 30 years. So that's why a lot of media information about inflation, so people well know about the future inflation rate, and very close to the actual inflation rate. And the expected inflation rate in the next 1 year about 7%, and 3 years ahead about 6.4%, and for ECB target and about 2.9 and up 2.9%. But the median here 2% is exactly at the targeted percentage rate, but only about 25% of the sample were able to guess correctly at 2%. And for the chart in the ECB and the Bundesbank, the range is from 0 to 10, but the average that's about 4.1. So, and for Bundesbank it's a little bit higher, so at 4.4, so over 10. So the people have a lower chart in the ECB and the Bundesbank. And our data here also quite consistent with the survey conducted in Germany and in the Eurozone. The chart in the ECB and the Bundesbank in general generally quite low. Okay, so the first effect, now we look at the achievement effect, and in the first step, we want to see the direct effect of the legacy achievement. So in the first step here, we have 4,000 households, and we separate randomly between control group and flex group, and those who receive the legacy achievement about the definition of inflation, the economic effect of inflation, and instruction of ECB. And then after this step, we have one question about point forecast, inflation, and one question about ECB. And so we can measure the outcome variable here is the economic indices score, and inflation prediction, and ECB and interest rate. And here we control for X here is the demographic, but the result does not change if we exclude the demographic. Do you know why the result does not change if we exclude the demographic? Why the estimates of our achievement on outcome variable here, the beta here does not change if we exclude the control group, not control group, but it's control variables like X by S, income, education, and so on.
Is it because we already separated? Is it because we already separate the group how to control?
Randomly, right?
Yeah, randomize.
Yeah, because the demographic between the treatment and the control group. So in this step, the demographic is equally the same between the tax, the control group, and the treatment group, right? So those who receive the treatment here is uncorrelated with the demographic variable. So X here and the literacy here is uncorrelated, right? And because literacy and X here is uncorrelated, so that's why the effect of literacy treatment on the outcome variable here is that's not affected by the control group. And this is the signals that our randomized control is works perfectly.
Yeah.
If demographic variables here is related to whether you are received, whether you receive the information, it means that there's something wrong with the experiment, right? Yeah. It's not random anymore because it's for some reason, some specific group, they are more likely to receive the provides a summary statistic to prove that the demographic between the control group and the treatment group here is equally the same. And in academic group, you can solve it, and later I can solve it as well. Okay, so here the immediate effect that we measure the financial literacy, economic literacy. Right after we provide this, we ask 5 questions about inflation and budget policies and financial literacy. And 3 months later, when we conduct a follow-up survey, we also ask a question about inflation and budget policy again to see whether people will still remember the information we provide. And here we can see that the literacy treatment here, the magnitude effect here is when we compare the literacy treatment with the control group who do not receive that. So here is the treatment group, and we compare with the control group here. The control group is without any knowledge about inflation and monetary policy. And we find that those who receive the information treatment about inflation and monetary policy, they more likely to answer the question correctly. So the text we provide is input the people's knowledge about the topic of inflation and monetary policy, but have no impact on financial literacy. And this makes sense, and it's also important for us because we do not teach anything about financial issues like how to calculate the interest rate compounding or risk diversification, right? So the treatment we provide has no impact on financial literacy. It only changes people understanding about inflation and monetary policy. And it cannot be correct. And 3 months later, here is the follow-up survey. We conduct 3 months later to see. We asked again 5 questions about inflation and literacy, and we find out that the effect still statistically significant, but the magnitude of the effect here now was a half compared with the first half. And it also makes sense because after 3 months people might forget something, and but the treatment we provide for the first way still see after 3 months. And in the next step, we want to see the treatment we provide, literacy treatment we provide can improve the people inflation expectation. So the point forecast here. Point forecast. But you know that in the samples, when we ask what do you think about inflation in the next 12 months, and 30% or nearly 40% sample they say that I don't know. Because we also have to for people to answer, and 35% of the sample they say that I don't know. So we have 2 table results here. First, we have to see the probability of providing the prediction. Who are more likely to provide the answers after the treatment, right? And in the second panel here, if they provide the answer, whether the treatment we provide here has effect on the level of inflation expectation. Okay? And the first column here is about perception, and the second column here is expectation 1 year ahead, and the third column here is expectation 3 years ahead, and the column number 4 is about ECB inflation target. Right? And here what we find for the probability of the likelihood of providing predictions, we find that those who receive the text, the information about inflation and monetary policy, they are more likely to provide the answer by 6% this point, about 5 to 6% this point, that they will provide some number or some answer to the question we ask. provide the answer in this line and this point. But when we look at the level of inflation prediction, so among those who provide the answers, we find that the treatment we provide have no impact on the level of inflation expectation, both perception and expectation, and it also makes sense as well because the information we provide have no new information about what is the kind of inflation rate and whether the inflation rate at the moment is high, low, or stable, right? And we will not talk about the time difference right at some specific numbers, but we just say that the aim of the policy is to keep price stability, and so our information treatment can have no effect on the level of inflation prediction. But does improve the likelihood that the people provide the answers. Next, regarding to the chart in ECB and the Bundesbank, we also find that those who receive the tax bill, they also improve their trust in the Bundesbank, even that we do not say that the Bundesbank they are good or bad, or the ECB they do a good job or bad job at the moment to keep price stability. But this introduction about the aim of the monetary policy we also improve job in the central bank, and the magnitude here is significant for the Bundesbank. But 3 months later, when we ask again about job in ECB and the Bundesbank, the impact here is become insignificant. So that will be over time, but also consistent with the fact that during the time we conduct the survey, inflation is going up and it's far from target of the central bank. And 3 months later, the interest rate even higher than the time we conduct the survey. So that's why lots of people they also review their judges in the central bank. So in the next step, we want to see the interaction of the text we provide here with further information. How the people they can integrate the general knowledge of inflation with further information about the current inflation rate, the target inflation rate from the central bank. And here we conduct this is called the Bayesian updating framework. So it's very basic Bayesian framework that, for example, yeah. So here is the formula to measure the Bayesian updating framework. So the belief we hold after the treatment here is a function of the prior belief and the information we provide. So if the information we provide is very informative for them, the share of the weight of G here is larger. So it means that the impact of the information here is very informative. The information we provide, we have shown impact on the posterior belief, and the impact of the prior belief here will be smaller, right? Because here G and here's 1 minus G. If G is larger, it means that the weight of the prior belief will be smaller, right? So if we look at the link between prior belief and the posterior belief, if the impact of prior belief on the posterior belief is smaller, it means that the information we provide is powerful and it's a meaningful for people to change their belief, right? So basically, because we don't know and how to measure information here in terms of scale, like the level of inflation, so that's why we have to study the impact of the prior belief on the posterior belief to see the role of the information here, right? So here those these theoretical models about the impact of the information on the posterior belief, and the way we understand the information is by looking at the link between prior belief or posterior belief. And now, in terms of econometric estimation, it turned out to be quite easy. We just estimate the impact of the posterior belief of inflation on prior belief of the inflation again, right? We estimate the posterior belief on prior information prior delete, and then we interact the prior delete with the information given, with when the TCP with the information given, and here the given page from 1 to 4 because we have four given. We have four given group, so that's why we have a quantitative information given here is from 1 to 4 and compare with the control group to the further information. And to understand the link between the general information here, the literacy given with further information here, to see the link, how people incorporate the text here with the further information here with the interaction of the literacy given here with the quantitative information we provide. So the interaction is that, and then here this control variable for literacy and the quantitative info and the interaction of the prior delete with the literacy given and the quantitative info, and here is the control demographic control variable. And now we want to see the impact of prior delete on the posterior delete after given group. And now we can present the result in terms of a graph here, that is the scatter plot about the link between here is the prior delete and here is the posterior delete. So the x-axis here is the prior delete and the y-axis here is the posterior delete about impression. And here is the black line here is for the control group, and then control 1 with those who will not missing any information about the impression literacy and build group with the standard knowledge about financial literacy. Okay, so if the slope here is a flat, so if the slope here is a flat, it means the impact of the prior delete on posterior delete is smaller, right? So for example, if the slope is like this one, it's smaller. The slope here is smaller. It means that the information we provide is more informative because the impact of prior delete on posterior delete is smaller. Yeah. So in this case, we can see that for the green line here and the red line here, for the control group, the ECB target and the current plus with the forecast inflation here is very informative for the control group without any knowledge about inflation and monetary policy. Yeah, because the slope is smaller, but the information about the current inflation rate, the green line here, all the information about the ECB target plus with the climate change and no impact on the formation of precipitation for the control group without any information. And now if we look at the literacy treatment, those who receive the literacy treatment here, the current inflation plus with the forecast is also important, but we can see that the impact of the ECB target commitment with climate change also have an impact on how to perform belief about future inflation. So it means that some new information about commitment with climate change also improve the formation of the inflation expectation. And because and one thing here that the information target of the ECB has no impact on the literacy group because we already talked about that the ECB also committed to the climate change, also can improve the central bank. Because several children and then from that they can change the future inflation. And regarding the uncertainty of creation, will be also can find some interesting results. So the uncertainty of the measure of the possible risk that we use the NCT forecast, and because the NCT forecast will measure both the level of expectation and the uncertainty. So for the uncertainty here, first we divide that those with high frequency or not high frequency, but those who receive the literacy treatment, they have a higher uncertainty about future inflation in their prediction. So this is something surprising because we might expect that those with high frequency, they have low uncertainty in their prediction, but it turned out that if we provide some information about inflation, it makes people more uncertain about future inflation, and it actually it makes sense because in the literature they also find that those with high financial literacy they have a higher uncertainty about future inflation when they provide the forecast. And do you know why? Overthinking. Yeah, could be overthinking. That could be one thing, and less overconfident. Yeah, because now they. Especially if we look at the definition of inflation, right? Because in the literacy treatment we provide the definition of inflation, and now he tells them that the way we measure inflation is how we compare the price level with the 12 months ahead, 12 months before, and it's also a group of different things from food, grocery price, and oil, transport, and durable things. So it's about many things. So now when they think about that, they find out,
information overload.
Yeah, too much information. It's not too much information, but just we provide the right set of the information, right? So it's not for those who without this information, maybe they just think about the food price or grocery price, and then they just provide some number, right? But this is overconfident, right? Because they don't know about this topic and they just provide some answer, and they're so confident about their prediction. But now, if you tell them that, actually inflation is you have to combine different goods and services, for example.
So there's a trade-off between like confidence or uncertainty and like the accuracy of the response, right?
Actually, it's in terms of techniques, it's different, but it's highly correlated. Yeah. For example, if you confident, it means that you are low uncertainty, right? So the word about confidence and uncertain or certain.
No, I mean confidence and uncertain is one group, but the other one is like accuracy. So it's mean like if you want to improve the accuracy, you provide them with extra information.
Yeah.
But then that also reduce their confidence level. That might in this case.
Maybe opposites. For example, if you have some knowledge already, and now, for example, I tell you some knowledge about inflation, and then I also tell you more about what is the kind of inflation rate, and now to improve the confidence again. Yeah, because with some knowledge now, but now you have to receive further information, that confidence now improve. Yes, that is exactly the next thing. So the first thing here, if they do not receive further information, their uncertainty is increased. Okay, so that's first step, like on the first line. But once they receive further information, like they know that the ECB target now at 2%, their uncertainty also reduced. Or they receive the current inflation rate or the forecast from the central bank, actually all the information here also reduce the uncertainty for those with some knowledge about inflation and monetary policy. So first, at this point, and for those who receive this text, so those who receive this knowledge, and they go into this control group, the uncertainty is large. information.
Mm.
And then they answer the question about the density forecast, the uncertainty is lower. Right? So if you provide some knowledge about this topic, and then you provide further information about the current inflation rate or the forecast inflation of 20th century bank, the uncertainty reduces significantly compared to those who do not receive any assistance. So it is indication that we not only talk about not only these people about knowledge, but also we need to provide further information. Right? Yeah. And the last results here about the treatment effects on trade in the central bank. So first we can see that the deficit treatment here, they also improve trade in ECB and Bundesbank. But once you provide further information like target or current inflation rate, the trade in the central bank in general is lower. Yeah, because now they know that all the facts here, the purpose of the central bank is to keep price stability, right? But the time when we conduct the survey, the inflation rate is far from the target, and it's very high, and everyone is concerns about inflation. And when they know that the current inflation rate here is high, they review their trade in the central bank significantly. So actually, they know how to integrate the information we provide from the first step with the further information when they form trade in the central bank. Yeah. So if you are knowledgeable about the topic, and now you get some more data about actual economy, you have better secondary information to evaluate the work of the central bank, whether they do a good job or not, and actually consistent with the fact that about this thing. Okay, so to conclude, we have conducted an online survey experiment with the German population during the time of high inflation in Germany, and we by that providing some valid information here. They improve the understanding about this topic and the likelihood of beating inflation prevision, but there are no impact on the level of prevision. And they also improve the central bank. And the separated knowledge about this topic also gives the uncertainty of how to answer. But it also we can interpret that the generated literacy also people less overconfident when they provide the answers, and they also reduce their uncertainty when they provide with further information like the ECB target or the current interest rate. But once they receive further information here, they also reduce their trade in the central bank and reported by that the level of inflation is the platform the purpose of the central bank and the key price stability. Yeah. So it's a link between inflation expectation, trade in the central bank with the knowledge of the topic about inflation and monetary policy. Okay. And here is one table that we saw the demographic characteristic between the control and treatment group. Here is similar. So I've got the control group here and the treatment group, and you can see that, for example, we got into age, on average it was 47.7, and with the treatment group it was 48, and the college degree is almost 51 or 52% with the both treatment and control group. And then we also have some key tests here to see whether the difference here is significant or not, and you can see that here is I said survey question on children central bank, and we have 5 questions to measure the people knowledge about inflation literacy, like for example for inflation definition, we have this question, and the rate of inflation, for example the first one, the rate of inflation in an economy is best described as the percentage increase in the overall price level of goods and services, or other overall price of money goods, or long-term interest, price of stock, or result, right? And the right one here is the share of those who answer correctly in the control group. So in this group, for the control group, without any text, and the red one here is with the reading the text. So in this case, 77% that they answer correctly for the control group, but those who receive the information we provide increase from 77% to 85%, and the same with the impact of inflation on the real consumption, and the objective of monetary policy. There is again the primary objective of monetary policy in the ECB is to stabilize price level of goods and services or other things, right? So the same thing here for question and okay, so see that the whole structure of the RCB here. This paper is a little bit more complicated than this one, but actually it does follow the same structure of the survey experiment. And we also can see key questions. In the folder, I also have the question for you as well. Yeah. So let's go a little bit with the survey, the designs of the survey at the very beginning. So now we can discuss again about the survey design. So we also talk the introduction of the survey. This survey is about your views and opinions about inflation, monetary policy, and economy. So we just talk about like this one. We will not talk about the purpose of this study is to study the cause and effect of inflation literacy on inflation expectation of trade central bank, right? We just talk very generally and only on sentence, but with your views and opinions about inflation, monetary policy, and economy. Very short. And this is not too detailed, but the overview of our topic so that people know about what we are doing. And with the scientific study and answering this survey about 50 minutes, and so this form is strictly minutes. And the next one here we talk about to raise the attention of the people on the topic of the survey we conduct. So we just want to raise the attention of the people because the general people have no attention to the online survey. So we talk about this one. We care about the quality of our data, and in order for us to get the most accurate measure of your knowledge and opinions, it's important that you properly provide your best answer to each question in this survey. We will commit hopefully provide your best answer to each question in this survey, and this or no, right? So it's just raise your awareness about the survey and try to ask them to provide to make some efforts to provide the answers. And then some question about demographic and so on. Quickly, you can see about income, education, and employment, household owner, and news attention, and then we randomly provide the information and so this is want to be assigned this one either in the control group or the treatment group. Okay? And the control group, number one, will speak to the next question directly. And treatment group will read information. Yeah. Yeah, we already. And then we have some question to test for the knowledge about inflation and monetary policy. That is the test question. Yeah. And then we also have introduction before we ask this question. We would like to ask you a few general questions about inflation and monetary policy. Answer all questions according to your current knowledge. So, yeah. Find a question here and then we ask some question here, this one, and then we provide further information here. But in some subgroup, different treatment groups, we have different pieces of information. And then we ask this question again. Yeah, like yesterday we see there's a density forecast after the treatment, right? But the difference between our question with the New York Fed survey is that we put the inflation first. 1, 2, 3, and 5 is a negative, and then 6 to 10 is a positive. But New York Fed, they do the opposite. They put this one first and the inflation below. So this also have some impact on the result as well. Because if we change the order like this one, more likely that people will put some answer at the very beginning. Yeah. And here is a format from Bundesbank, and at the time we just follow the Bundesbank. But once we do that, we recognize that in this case more likely that it will be answer that is a negative interest rate. So. And we will know how to fix this problem, how we can fix this problem in the future research if you also do the same thing here, and you do the density forecast, how to can fix this problem to reduce the bias. We have two options, right? We can either put the positive first and negative first, positive at the beginning and the negative below, or we do it like this one. And the New York Fed, they put this one first and this one below. And Bundesbank, they do this one. So what would be better?
I think I will separate it into different parts, into different questions. But I will have a state at the beginning, and have a state that you will answer with 2 questions, and please be sure that the total answer have to sum to 100%.
Yeah.
And then the first question is about the negative inflation, and the second is positive inflation.
Yeah, theoretically it's okay, but it's very costly because we have asked 2 questions, right, for only one thing, and it's costly. Yeah, because the effort to answer this question is large, because this question is a kind of difficult question already, and now we ask the same thing but just change the order. The people may be confused about that, and it's costly as well because we have to ask 2 questions for only one measurement. Right? We have to reduce the number of the total question.
No other anymore, so you have to find for that one. You have to like pay attention to that thing. No more easy hits here.
Yeah, you are very close. Yeah. But when we use it already can category, right? And now to suffer everything here, it becomes maybe one, and then this is, I think it's again theoretically it's right. But it's very challenging, right?
Yeah.
Because this one already very challenging already. But you are very good. Yeah. And actually in our best surveys here, for example, for this one, like this one, we suffer the answers. Yeah, so the order of the answering for this question we suffer. So 1, 2, 3, 4 here, the order is interchange. So it will be suffer and probably the order of the answer for this one. So that if someone may just choose the first one, for example, it's can be wrong.
Yeah, but for qualitative questions, then I think shuffle is easier rather than
Yeah.
because the previous question is like you follow like different bean already.
Yeah.
So how to shuffle?
Yes. So here we one thing we can do, and in the literature they do one or two research they do is that there are two versions. One this one and the other like the exactly here is the version from Bundesbank and another version from the New York Fed, and they randomly. Yeah, so a half sample we visit this one and a half visit the opposite.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is how they deal with the issue. Okay? Then because at the end it's a randomly everyone
I
half
see.
sample they visit this one and a half they visit the opposite order. Right? So it's still okay, right? Because in this case we can take the
I'm
average.
very creative. I don't think of that.
Right? That is how we can do that. And actually, one more strategy we can do is that it depends on the platform of the survey company as well. But we can do something like yeah. So here we have 10 beans, but we do not use this particular order, but we use like this one. So, and here we put it maybe in 10 different beans. Okay, so we have 10 different beans like this here, and we give 100 gold. 100 gold. This one, okay? And then we ask maybe from minus 12 here or less, or from here minus 12 to minus 8, and then so on. For here it's from 8 to 12%, and here is 12% or more, okay? And then we ask people to put the number of holes into this one, like this one. Yeah. Like this one, and this one. And until all the holes here is finished, so we can calculate the percentage for different category as well. And in this time it's a horizontal. So is there no difference between whether it's first one or the last one anymore? But this also another strategy that we can deal with the order of this one.
Oh, so they visualize.
Yeah, we visualize how we can answer. But it depends on how we programming and where the survey company they will do so. But if we ask question and then include the question, the survey company is more likely that they can do.
Yeah, this one as well. And this one as well. I remember like most of the countries will be from left to the right. But there are some countries like Japan, maybe from the right to the left. So this might be some interesting thing if like this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
for like multinationals
Yeah.
respondents.
Yeah. But the big, actually, my team quite a lot about it compared to this version. Because this one is given by myself, so I recognize that some problem with the answer like this one. But if you ask for all respondents on the same format, and we still can find the treatment effect, this one on how people answer to this one, that's still okay to see the treatment effect. But if you want to see the average inflation expectation for the whole population, maybe this one will be underestimate the truth belief about future inflation. Okay? Or on the other way around, it would be overestimate or overestimate about the true population belief about future inflation. But if we 50% on this one and 50% on the other way, probably it can solve the problem. So still at the moment, they still try to find what is the best way to measure inflation expectation, both in terms of the designs of the questionnaire, like this one, or like this one, or like this one. Yeah. And this one is a very new question because it has a history of only 2 or 3 years so far. So this is the new method to do so. So people at the moment, they still try to find what is the best way to measure inflation expectation. And yeah, it's still open field at the moment. Yeah, I think that that is all for how to conduct a survey and survey experiment. And in the folder I sent to you. Yeah. So in the folder here, in the folder about how to run the survey experiment in the lecture, in the note, you also can find all the files here. And I encourage you to go with the full papers and also with the application files here with the Google file and the questionnaire, and then you can reproduce all the detail in the paper. And during this time, you can learn about STATA and also how to produce the paper and figures with the paper we do. Okay, so it's the best way to learn from the real examples. And it's really so a little bit about story. So before I worked with my co-author Lina Flicker, I just be a student and write term paper like in our course at this time. I will just Microsoft Word, so the and once I have time to work together with Lina Flicker, at that time she was she already as a professor and experienced with LaTeX and STATA, and because we work on the joint project, and she asked me now to add LaTeX and STATA like this one, and she gave me some template from her work, and then I just follow, and then I learned from the new example without any textbook or any course about LaTeX or STATA. No, I don't have any formal course on this thing, but because of working with her on the joint project, she gave me some template, and I just follow the template here and I learn by myself. If I don't understand anything, I just go to it and see. This is how I learn. So just go from the real example how to do it, and then how to produce the results in LaTeX, because it's how we can submit and publish our paper in academic journal. So this is my learning by and through an example. So when you have time, go for it, and I think that it's a good way to learn. And And the good thing is that for this template is already consistent with all these are with the paper by step, step by step, and with instruction how we can use it to achieve the final result. So I think it's a good way to learn. Okay, so go for it, and maybe not now, but maybe next week when you